Hello again, welcome to another video. This video comes as a result of being asked quite a few times recently on how to find a counsellor, how to find a therapist and what to look for, and are there any red flags and things like that. There's a simple answer and there's a long answer, and it's a bit like finding a car or finding a musician to play at a wedding for you. There are all kinds of people, but in terms of counselling, it's a strange profession because it attracts quite a few kooks with a K-A-A-O-K-S, and so you've got to be a bit careful, a bit wary. So I would say you need to find someone who's highly qualified. Now, that's not to say people who are lesser qualified are no good. That's not true. But you can guarantee that if someone's highly qualified, then they are likely to know what they're talking about because they've jumped through hoops to get there. So if you look at my own qualifications, this, by the way, is not an advert for me because I'm actually as full up as a counsellor could be. So it would be very unusual to have me as a counsellor. Not because you'd be really lucky about that, I'm not saying that in an arrogant way, but it's quite a rare thing because I'm really busy. So I'm just saying what to look for if it's not me that you find. So you need someone who's highly qualified, probably someone who's accredited with BACP, which stands for British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy. So accreditation means again that they've passed a certain level of abilities and competencies, and that they adhere to ethical standards and guidelines. So that's me as well. There's another tick. Wish I could do that thing on here. Ding! You know this thing, but I can't. So someone highly qualified, with perhaps with a higher degree. Ding! And accreditation. Ding! Someone with a lot of experience, maybe over 10 years experience. Ding! All these things count. And someone with cross-modality abilities. That's easier. So someone with, so for example, I trained initially as a counsellor, and then I had a lot of training in CBT as well. And I've actually had more training as a CBT therapist than I have as a counsellor. But I've also got additional training in psychodynamic, interpersonal therapy, transactional analysis, psychodynamic theory generally, attachment theory, eye movement desensitization reprocessing, which is EMDR, and various other modalities. So when a client comes to me, I choose what I think would be best to help with their presenting issues. So I create a bespoke response according to what they bring to me, so that I can tailor something for their needs rather than just go off a single modality to help them. So that's quite good. So try and get what might be called an integrative or eclectic counsellor. That's it. That is to say, someone who integrates several methodologies, several theories, brings them together, conflates them. So that's a good thing if you can get someone like that. Most of all, though, qualifications and accreditation aside, the great psychologist Carl Jung talked about this concept of being a wounded healer. So I'm a big believer that if you're going to help someone, then you must have been hurt or wounded yourself in order to be able to help them. Now, there are people who wouldn't agree with that. So, for example, if you use the medical model, and you were talking about hospitals, you don't have to have a broken arm in order to be able to fix someone's broken arm. It's just a standard fix. But psychology and counselling is different than that. And to be able to truly resonate with someone and to empathise, I think it helps greatly if you've been down that route. So you'll find that all the anonymous groups, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Codependence Anonymous, all the anonymous groups, Overeaters Anonymous, have workers there, unpaid workers, volunteers and sponsors who themselves have been addicts, because it's only an addict that can truly understand other addicts, because they know what it's like. They've walked the old thing about walk a mile in another man's shoes. So they've been there and done that, and I think that helps a lot with counselling. So the advice there is to go for an initial meeting with the counsellor. Some people offer a free first session. I don't, but go for an initial meeting, whether you want it free or not, and find out whether the counsellor, find out how it fits, whether it resonates with you, whether the person seems to be on your wavelength. Some counsellors do it as like a sort of hobby, because you don't get your hands dirty and it's a nice job, and you can it's a nice middle class occupation, and some counsellors do it like that. And so if you get an upper middle class counsellor, that might not be for you if you come from a working class background, and vice versa. So you've got to speak in the same language, or at least the counsellor can be a chameleon enough to adapt their presentation in order to make it fit for you. So if it doesn't fit for you, you don't want a counsellor using huge big words if you're more of a person who is speaking from a restricted speech code, and vice versa. You don't want elaborate speech codes in restriction and stuff like that. So the counsellor's got to fit. You've got to think that you're singing from the same hymn sheet and that you're understood. And that's how empathy works. That's how mirror neurons work. When you find a union with someone, when you find a harmony with someone, and that's great, that if you can find that with a counsellor. So it's about depth of understanding, qualifications, empathic response. You find someone that understands you, someone that offers what's called the core conditions, which are empathy, unconditional positive regard, congruence, things like that. So you should be looking for those things at the first session. And then you might want to look at the different modalities as well. So if you look at like what used to be called a marriage guidance counsellor, which is now called Relate, they're a couples counselling or family counselling organisation, and they use what's called systemic family therapy, which is quite unique to Relate. And they also use elements from transactional analysis and the ego state model. Or you might be looking at something to cure depression, anxiety or panic attacks, phobias, OCD, in which case you're probably better looking for a CBT therapist, which will give you some good coping techniques and some sticking plasters to use. Not necessarily looking at depth work, is CBT, but it'll certainly get you through the day. And if you want to do more depth work and explore the past, you could look at, pure counselling and methodologies like that. And psychodynamic work looks at a lot of childhood and transference and subconscious drives. So it's obviously up to you at the end of the day. Choosing the right one is the best thing. And what I'd advise is that you look at about 5, you sort of audition, as it were, about 5 or 6 counsellors, and see who fits with you. I've throughout my years, I've looked at different counsellors and supervisors like that, and it's very hard to get a correct fit. It's really hard to get someone who resonates, who vibrates on the same wavelength. So let me know in the comments below. It'd be nice to hear from you, and I'll put, if you want counselling with me, you can contact me. I'll leave a comment in the description below, and you can contact me if you want to. Can't promise anything on that front, but if you look at the my website, which is worryguru.com, or if you want a different counsellor than me, someone without a baseball cap on, you can look at bacp.co.uk under their search facility called Find a Therapist. That's a good thing, and look for an accredited one. So yeah, good luck with your search. I hope you're not suffering too much, and I hope you find what you're looking for. See you soon.